This is produced as part of the ongoing work on the website, thewaythetruthandthelife.net.
I just got through watching a clip where Bill O'Reilly said that Muslims blew up the World Trade Center, and he had two women walk off his show.
Give an example. The mosque down here on 9/11. That's inappropriate. It's sure they have a right to do it, and the Constitution, but it's inappropriate because a lot of the 9/11 families, who I know, say, look, we don't want that.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be there.
But what about the discussion?
No. But there's the president. There's the president going, well, they have a right to do it. Yes, and then the guy says, and then the guy, hold it. Listen to me, because you'll learn. All right. So he says to the press, yeah, they have a right to do it, and that's true. Yeah. And then the question is, but what about the wisdom of it, Mr. President? And he goes, I'm not going to comment. Whereupon everybody in the country goes, what?
Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. So you're saying that Americans are not smart enough to recognize that while it is part of our Constitution to say the freedom of religion and freedom to worship, and there were 70 families who are Muslim who also died in that building. Yeah. So you're saying that that his saying that they have the right to do it and not saying any more than that is why his approval rating is going down?
I'm showing that there is a gulf between Americans wanted to know what his opinion was on the issue, and he wouldn't give it.
We're Americans.
That's one thing.
But you know,
you agree with him.
No, we're Americans. I'm an American.
Let me break this to you. 70% of Americans don't want that mosque down there. So don't give me the weed business.
I want to see that.
You want to bet on that? You want to bet? I'll show you that poll in a minute.
Americans don't want it. But why is that? But why aren't we saying
it's inappropriate?
Why is it inappropriate when 70 families died?
Muslims killed this on 9/11.
Oh my God! That is.
Muslims didn't kill us on 9/11? Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me, extremists.
What religion were they in?
What religion was Mr. McVeigh? Mr. McVeigh was an extremist as well, and he killed people.
70% of the country.
I don't want to sit here. I don't want to sit here.
You're outraged about Muslims killing us on 9/11.
You have just seen what should not happen. We should be able to have discussions without washing our hands and screaming and walking off stage. I love my colleagues. It should not have happened. Now, let me just say to you in a calmer voice, it was extremist. You cannot take a whole religion and demean them because of what so many... Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
When you say that it was Muslims.
If that's what you think.
That's what we think.
Extremists.
You didn't say that.
But here's the issue, and this is what has to be understood.
You've got to make a distinction.
If anybody felt that I was demeaning all Muslims,
that's what you
do you think the problem, though, Bill, is that if we go back in time, early in this administration, the president himself said we weren't allowed to use the word terrorist early on. So then he started using the word, hang on, hear me out. He started saying the word, he started saying radical Islamists, radical Muslims. So then there was then a closer association with what happened and the religion. I think if you would have just let us say terrorists, because there are terrorists across all religions and all faiths, then this wouldn't even be a problem.
But here's the look.
Okay.
We only have a minute left.
No, we have more time coming back.
Okay.
Here
comes one of them back.
We're back because now you apologize. You apologize.
But that's not the issue. The issue is that it's inappropriate because of the context of what happened on 9/11. And if I was inartful in explaining that, but Muslim fanatics, terrorists, whatever word, killed us. There are 100 mosques in New York City. Okay?
Okay.
They can move it away and nobody's going to bother.
Okay.
And then David Pakman's midweek political radio discussed this. in somewhat reasonable but confused terms.
People are writing to me saying, hold on a second, what O'Reilly said is factually true. It's not all Muslims, but it was only Muslims that perpetrated the 9/11 attacks. What is so wrong about what he's saying? Well, it should be obvious to you what's wrong about what he's saying. But in case it's not, let me give you another example. Saying Muslims killed us on 9/11 and therefore there should not be a mosque within the even close proximity to where one of those attacks happened is like me saying after an attempted mugging in Argentina, I'm from Argentina, I was there, I'm Hispanic, another Hispanic man from Argentina attempted to mug me, I was able to walk away. Me saying, Hispanics are the ones who mugged my family.
And then I watched Davis Fleetwood talking about.
So the Juan Williams NPR firing, Fox hiring story just will not go away. And once again, and I hate to admit this, but it is the extreme right wing of this argument that is winning the spin game. To hack this a bit, we have to go back to Bill O'Reilly's recent appearance on The View when he, well, he did this.
What do you do this on 9/11? Oh my God! Muslims didn't kill us on 9/11? Is that what you're saying? Excuse me.
Whoopi and Joy, come on. Instead of revealing yourselves as a couple of click-clacking, coffee-clutching gossip mongers who can't tolerate an opinion that's different than yours, you could have said this to Bill O'Reilly. Bill, it is true that Muslims killed Americans on 9/11. Because, Whoopi and Joy, that is a fact. But it is only the most recent chapter in a long history of the United States meddling in, let me clarify that term, in the United States murdering of innocent civilians in the Middle East. Many of these victims were Muslim, all lived dangerously close to Mecca, and to the holy grail of hyper-capitalist America, I'm talking about foreign oil. Whoopi and Joy, you could have gone on to tell Bill O'Reilly that this recent history goes back at least to 1953 when the CIA overthrew Iran's democracy, and then maybe included a couple of statistics from the United States' first Gulf War and the subsequent sanctions that left at least 1/2 million Iraqi children dead, and U.S. boots on the ground permanently in the Middle East. Was this recent history, Joy and Whoopi, you could have told Mr. O'Reilly, that led a few radicalized Muslims from Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, it seems, with a criminal negligence, or at least a wink wink nudge nudge come on over here say no more, that went all the way up to the White House to fly a few planes into a couple of buildings, killing a few thousand Americans. What does the United States do? We launch a brutal and vicious war against the defenseless country of Iraq, which had nothing to do with the attacks on 9/11, killing 1 million more innocent civilians and creating untold number of orphans, a certain number of which, I am sure, will grow older into radicalized Muslims ready to martyr themselves. And that, Whoopi and Joy, you could have told Bill O'Reilly, is what future generations of Americans are facing. It's called blowback. So fast forward a few days later when Juan Williams is on the Bill O'Reilly Factor debating Bill O'Reilly about the Ground Zero mosque thing, and Juan Williams of NPR says, surprisingly honest, that when he's on a plane and he sees people who self-identify as Muslims through the clothes that they wear, that he gets nervous. He does a double take. This is understandable. As Muslims, just like Christians, are batshit crazy to begin with. What with their irrational belief in an all-knowing creator of the universe who wrote a book of laws to live by, and that book of laws is very confusing. What with the preaching of peace on the one hand and the kill the infidels on the other. Where Juan Williams' fear is not justifiable is in the context of statistics. The overwhelming majority of Muslims just want to eat, worship, play, and work, and live in peace. We know that the Randian, regressive, Christian, conservative, teabagging Fox News wields a blunt instrument in the 24-hour merry-go-round of the partisan news cycle, but NPR, in explaining Juan Williams' firing, stooped to this.
His feelings that he expressed on Fox News are really between him and his, psychiatrist or his publicist, or take your pick. But it is not compatible with a news analyst with the role of a news analyst on NPR's air.
Are you kidding me? I mean, so now I'm a psychiatrist. Now I am mentally unstable.
And this is a woman who's running this operation?
Oh my God.
It is. It's unbelievable.
So that's insult. So now it
she
becomes personal.
She apologized. She did. After.
Not to me.
Fox News, never missing a PR stunt, snatched up Juan Williams for a cool $2 million contract. And Sarah Palin, without misspelling or malappropriating a single word, wrote the following. If NPR is unable to tolerate an honest debate about an issue as important as Islamic terrorism, then it is time for National Public Radio to become National Private Radio. It's time for Congress to defund this organization. President Obama should make clear his commitment to free and honest discussion of the jihadist threat in our public debates, and Congress should make clear that unless NPR provides that service, they don't receive a single dime. And Juan Williams, for his part, wrote the following on FoxNews.com. Daniel Shore, my fellow NPR commentator who died earlier this year, used to talk about the initial shock of finding himself on President Nixon's enemy list. I can only imagine Dan's revulsion to realize that today NPR treats a journalist who has worked for them for 10 years with less regard, less respect for the value of independence of thought, and embrace of real debate across political lines than Nixon ever displayed.
Juan Williams, NPR is worse than Nixon, and really pulling the left-wing hatred card out, confusing terms to justify. And the reality here is that there's an insanity, the type of insanity to reason perfectly on a false assumption. I have two very good friends who are anti-American from the Vietnam War. They hate America, they hate Christianity, they hate capitalism. And it's a motivation for me to try and clarify some terms. So that's the purpose of this video, to clarify the terms of the confusion between Quran, Islam, and Muslim. I have had Muslim friends. I pray for Muslims. I see Muslims doing things that remind me of Christ's spirit. But also I've just been dealing with, my wife is near Petigorsk, and they just had the 3 tourists murdered. On the route I helped finance her brother's used Mercedes bus to transport tourists from Petigorsk to Elbrus. Elbrus is about 50 miles away from our Russian home.
We start in Russia's North Caucasus region. The capital of the Republic of Kabardino-Balkaria came under simultaneous attacks by several groups of militants who opened fire on security targets. Well, let's get more now from RT's Katerina Grachova, who's following the developments there. Katerina, 4 hours after the attacks rocked the Republic, tell us, what is the situation like there now?
Well, what we have for this hour is that the National Counter-Terrorism Committee says that they've taken the situation under control. I'd like to remind our viewers that preliminary reports suggested that from 10 to up to 12 people were injured in terrorist attacks carried out in the city of Nalchik, the capital of Russia's Republic of Kabardino-Balkaria. However, the president of the Republic later dismissed the reports and said that only 1 policeman was slightly injured. We've also received no reports of casualties to this minute. We've been receiving the latest from the National Counter-Terrorism Committee.
Militants fired 3 shots from grenade launchers from the side of a stadium in Nalchik at around 8 p.m. on Friday. Their target was the Russian Federal Security Service Department in Kabardino-Balkaria. No casualties have been reported, though the building itself was damaged. Almost simultaneously, 2 road traffic police posts came under fire. 1 road police officer was wounded. At the same time, a bomb went off on the territory of an FSB sanitary facility. Law enforcement officers have taken the situation in Nalchik under control.
Well, this is an unprecedented, gruesome and obviously a well-planned terrorist attack. A similar series of almost simultaneous attacks were carried out in the same very city of Nalchik in 2005 when a group of Islamic militants attacked an airport, police, military headquarters and also the FSB almost simultaneously. 12 civilians were then killed, and as a result of a special security operation carried out on the spot, 95 perpetrators of the attack were killed.
Well, Russia's Republic of Kabardino-Balkaria has been subject to a number of terror attacks recently. Tell us more about those, Katrina.
Well, it seems that we are now witnessing a wave and a spat of terrorist acts hitting Russia. Last week in the Republic of Kabardino-Balkaria, a group of militants, armed militants, stopped a tourist bus which carried tourists from Moscow, and militants with assault rifles killed 3 people and injured 2 others. Shortly after that, terrorists blew up a cable car leading to Mount Elbrus, a popular tourist destination with skiers at this time of the year. And of course, this massacre drew a characteristically robust approach from the government. At a session of Counter-Terrorism Committee last week in the city of Vladikavkaz, President Medvedev again said that Russia's law enforcement officers will continue to hunt down terrorists and will eliminate those who refuse to make peace, and that those strikes will be made not only in retribution but also as a preventive measure. They'll be eliminated without mercy, the president said. Well, there's overwhelming evidence that many of the Caucasus terrorists had been trained abroad, and our viewers certainly remember last year's Moscow metro bombings, a twin bombing on the Moscow metro system, and a gruesome suicide bombing at the country's largest airport in January this year. Both these attacks are believed to have been carried out with the help of international terrorist groups and with foreign financing. And with the fast-moving events in the Arab world reaching Russia's southern borders, of course, Russia's police and FSB are on high alert. They believe that Al-Qaeda and allied groups may be considering reallocating resources and seeking new targets. And Russia's been saying ever since Hosni Mubarak was ousted that it's not that terrorists are ready to come, it's that they're already here, and Russia is dealing with what is here and now and real, with the acts of terrorism carried out on Russian soil.
Katrina, thanks very much indeed for that update. Katrina Grachova report.
And then the Muslims in that area blew up the ski lift. They were resentful that Russia was trying to develop the skiing, the tourism for that area as a way to help it economically. But the Caucasus, North Caucasus, more and more are coming into the hands of the Islamists, where they've murdered peaceful imams who won't teach the Koran strictly. They're murdering judges that would convict Muslims of murder. They're murdering policemen that would arrest them. And it's very distressful, but there's so much ignorance. This purpose of this video series is to clarify the terms Quran, Islam, and Muslim.